So you want to jump multiple grades between now and your exams. I'm here to tell you that yes, you can do that, and I'm going to break down a formula that's going to show you exactly how. And this isn't going to be one of those super simple one thing fixes everything, because that's just not the case. If you want to jump just not one grade, multiple grades, it is going to take more than hard work. But this is a sort of G.R.A.D.E grade formula that is going to take you there. Let's start with G, and this is for goal clarity. You need to make goals that are clear and achievable. Some people like their little SMART goals things. I think they are great. I just can never for the life of me remember what a SMART goal even is. So I'm sticking with something that kind of breaks it all down, and it is basically a goal that has a tangible success outcome and a process that will get you there. So say for example, you want an A in chemistry. That's your outcome. But you also need a process attached to that goal, otherwise it's going to be really hard for you to achieve. So for example, I want an A in chemistry, so I'm going to revise chemistry for 45 minutes every single day until my exam. That is a goal that has a process and has an outcome, and it becomes a lot more achievable when you break it down like that. But you know what? We can go even further, because 45 minutes a day, great, but doing a bit of extra work, if you're doing inefficient revision, is just not going to help you. So you might say, okay, I want to increase my marks on past papers from 60% to 80%, and I'm going to do that by looking at mark schemes, looking at examiners' reports, and going back through all of the past papers that I've already done and identifying where I dropped marks, and then targeting those areas with my revision, and then being able to therefore improve and get them right in the future. Do you see how we're really making the goals super achievable, because we're completely breaking down exactly the steps that you should be taking? Those are the sort of goal clarity things that you should be thinking about related to improving your grades. Next we're on R, and this is your revision methods. Now, you should know by now that you should not be doing passive revision, you should be doing active revision. You should not be watching videos, textbooks, just highlighting your notes, or even writing notes. If you're the kind of person who's a very kinesthetic learner, however, I'm very kinesthetic. I find writing stuff out really, really helps me. But being a kinesthetic learner puts you in the minority. Most people don't actually gain many benefits from rewriting notes, and therefore it's much better to, for example, write flashcards and then be able to study from those flashcards. You can do question and answer, and that can be so much better. And actually breaking down any notes that you've been given into flashcards can be a really great way of just getting content in your head super active. But obviously once you're past that point, you should be employing things like the whiteboard technique, the Feynman technique, blurting, all of these things that really force you to use active recall, to take information from your brain without looking at notes. That's how you really target information. And that's how you also figure out those things that you don't understand. Because if you're trying to explain something and you figure out that actually, oh, I don't know the definition of this word, or oh, I don't know how this actually relates to something, then you know that that's an area that you should be going back and improving your knowledge of. G.R.A.D.E is analysis of your weak points. Now, most students, when they do practice questions or a past paper, they look at the things they get incorrect, they go, oh, that was incorrect, boo-hoo-hoo, guess I'm not good at that. Well, yeah, of course you're not good at that if you're not going to go away and improve. So you should be thinking about what are your weaknesses? What are those areas that you struggle with? And you need to put it into practice, because it is so tempting, and I'm so guilty of this as well, to sit down to study and focus on the area that you are best at. For you to sit down and do physics and think, oh my god, I love particle physics, let me do that module, instead of going, oh, I hate electricity, but I'm going to start with it and I'm going to work through it. That is the mindset you need to be adopting. And if you want something that's actually really going to integrate this into your study routine, I recommend doing something called eating the frog. And this is essentially where you start with the hardest thing. You sit down to study, and it is just ingrained in the way that you study that the first thing you do is going to be the hardest thing you have down to do that day. Now we're on D, and this is discipline over motivation. So being motivated is only going to take you so far. Yes, knowing that, oh, I want to get all 9s because I want to go to this sixth form. I want to get A stars because I want to go to my dream university. That is great motivation, but some days motivation just is not enough. Some days you wake up and the last thing you want to do is revise, but you've got an exam the next day, so you have to. You just need to be disciplined. You need to have daily non-negotiables. You need to know that you're going to do a minimum amount of studying every day. And you know what, if you feel absolutely miserable, just get that minimum done, and then you don't have to do any more. But make sure you've got some baseline level going. The takeaway from this bit is that good grades are not built on just having good vibes and wanting to study all of the time. No, they're built on having a good level of discipline that just forces yourself to study at least a minimum amount. Of course, you shouldn't be overdoing it, but you need to understand that you're not going to be motivated every single day. You need to have some other driver that's going to get you towards those better grades. G.R.A.D.E is for exam technique mastery. Once you've got the content, once you've been doing practice questions, you then need to be targeting exam style. Always revise in the style of the exam. For a subject like English, where you have to write essays, be revising by writing essays. No one wants to do that, but that is the secret to actually improving. Similarly, when you're doing subjects that are like maths, subjects that are like physics, chemistry, biology, you want to be getting as many questions done as you possibly can. Look at questions from other exam boards, because a lot of the time, exam boards will cross-pinch. They'll look, like OCR will go, oh my god, Edexcel had this great question last year, let's basically take that and use it in OCR and just change the questions. The amount of times that something like that has happened and I've felt really confident because I'd done a very similar question in a different exam board has been unimaginable. So really do try and get that exam technique nailed. Make sure that for subjects where you're going to be close on times, you know how much time you should be spending on certain questions, so you know to move on to a different section of the paper if you're spending too long on something, because ultimately waffling for slightly longer on one question might pick you up 1 or 2 marks, but just starting another question can get you 5 to 10. Literally almost every single student will know the content, but it's only the top students that know how to manage their time, how to hit the points that examiners want to see, and that will actually get you rewarded from the mark scheme, and will know how to structure their answers appropriately. That's the difference between getting a 6 and a 9, between a C and an A star. And that is what I really hope you're going to be able to do. So you don't need to be naturally clever to be getting top grades. You just need to be following this GRADE, G.R.A.D.E formula. And I really hope that this helps you this exam season. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. And if you have any questions at all about exams, about A-levels, about GCSEs, put them in the comments and I'll do my best to respond.